Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood. As we start off a brand new month here in the month of September, and we're talking all about crazy maniacs who come from the crazy state of New York. I was gonna say North Carolina. I mean, that's a crazy state too.
Yeah,
but this is the back alleys. This is the sexual trash. This is the stabbers. All the wild, crazy maniacs. All the ducks. All the strippers. All the sex. All of it happens in the crazy state of New York City, brother. Especially in the 80s. Because we're doing New York 80s month here on the Retro Blood. And to start us off, if y'all like duck sounds that have like a really tragic backstory, if you like this cop who's having sex with prostitutes who gets into the line of fire, if y'all like some weird doctor who acts like the kind of acts like that guy from Hannibal, you know, Will Graham, kind of acts like Will Graham, and if you all like this mortician doctor who talks about people's joy trails and how great butchery it is, then this is a review for you, brother, because the Retro Blood's talking all about the New York Ripper. J. Alison, James Kline, what's happening, Alison? How was your stay in this the downtown dirty slums of New York City, brother?
Man, I love New York City. I love New York City, and New York City during this era would have been wild.
Bro, this is pretty wild. This is now okay. I'm pretty sure like this is like what New York was like during this time. Yes. But it's also the vision of what Italians think New York was around this time as well.
Yeah, I mean it is. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's a vision of what they thought New York was. But New York was very dangerous during this era. It really was. Like there were like, I mean, I don't know how truthful this is, but supposedly there were like, you know, cops handing out cards that said "Welcome to New York, now duck."
Yeah.
But like it truly was dangerous during this time. And we've visited this before, like during when we did Wolfen.
Yes.
If you remember, like I think I talked a little bit there about how, you know, all those burned out buildings, that wasn't a set. Like the Bronx really looked like that, you know, and the buildings were burned down and everything was falling apart, and nobody was like cleaning up. And then at some point during this era, they had a garbage strike, and the garbage men weren't picking up the garbage. And in New York, you don't use garbage cans like you do here. You just take the garbage out and put it out on the sidewalk in bags, and they come by and pick it up. So like if you're in New York City on garbage day, like in Chinatown especially, there's like literally just piles just 6 feet high of garbage bags, and it stinks like shit as you're walking down the street.
Well,
it would just pile up and pile up and pile up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really dangerous city, more dangerous than it is now for sure. But also a lot more interesting and less homogenized, we'll say, than it is now.
Well, you know, it had your local movies playing. I
really enjoyed that.
You know, I had like Final Exam. I saw that preview on there. Yeah, it had American Werewolves in London. Nightcrawler, I believe, was on there too. And we have live hot sex women.
Yes.
All right. All in the same row. You could get everything, brother, in this town. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I loved when they walked by past the movie theater and it was playing. It said An American Werewolf in London, also Nighthawks.
Yeah.
And both of those are fucking great ass movies. And it would be so cool to see American Werewolf in London and then like immediately go see Nighthawks afterwards. That would have been fucking great.
Yeah. And then afterwards, the late night show, we can go watch some people have some sex in a movie theater.
Yeah. Live in front of us.
And then record it and then whack off.
Yes.
with our trench coat hats on.
yeah. New York was fucking wild in 1982.
So we got a lot to get to into this episode. There's a lot to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is this is the first month that we are doing a fan recommendation month. All right,
yeah.
We said that I think we said it like last month. You know, hey, if y'all had any good ideas for any kind of movie reviews and stuff, we'll start taking some fan requests. And we got a couple in. I believe I told you one was the. We had a fan recommend doing the killer objects month because of remember that we've done killer objects in a way because we did do microwave massacre. All right,
we did blades.
Yeah, blades. Yeah. But like, there's so many more out there, and then the one he recommended was the one about the elevator that like kills you.
Oh, we're doing that for sure.
And I was like,
yeah,
fuck.
we're doing that for sure.
Like I have to there's like this power drill one, and I was like, fuck, these all look fun. But I was like, you know what? I think I might save that for like the beginning of the year, or like, you know, sometime next year, because we already have like this kind of like booked out.
Yeah, we are pretty booked up.
But so this fan who recommended these New York month movies is actually a pretty big fan of ours. He's actually been a loyal listener for a very long time. So I want to shout out Andres. I hope I'm saying, you know, he listens to the show a lot. So if I fuck up his name, like, he should already know that's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
I was about to say, like, I don't think if he's listened to the show more than like once, I don't think he's gonna be surprised if you fuck up the name.
But it should be Andres VD. That's his Facebook, and he actually listens to us all the way from Australia, brother. Yeah, that's right. The Retro Blood's global. All right. Like, we don't play around. We're not just Americanized. You know what I mean? All the world loves us, brother. They all want to hear me talk about all these 80s titties and all these 80s knives and all the really cool colors that are in this movie as well, too, because there was a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really cool that there's some dude in Australia that's listening to us.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we actually have a lot of listeners in... like, we had a couple from Japan, which is cool. Like I said, Australia, where our boy Andres lives. We have a couple from Canada. And we have one from the great state that's very foreign to us, Boston.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Very foreign.
But speaking of Boston, everybody, let's move on to some stuff over here because, well...
Speaking of Boston.
Okay, so I was trying to transition to our beer talk. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that was clever. Actually, I was the dumb one there. That was clever.
That's how I was doing it. I was transitioning to the beer talk because for this month of September, me and Alison decided also to bring back our beer reviews, because if y'all remember that in the winter time, not only do we try to do, you know, holiday horror movies and stuff, even though it's gonna be a little light this year on that front. But we also talk about our favorite stout beers that we can find, and we always talk about them and drink them live on the air, because let's be honest, drinking, watching these horror movies is always fun. It kind of goes together, brother. You know what I mean? We see beer in horror movies all the time. Might as well drink some while we're here. So mine, speaking of Boston, I am drinking for the month of September. We have decided to do Oktoberfest style beers, which is actually one of my favorite style beers that you can find out there.
I agree. I like Oktoberfest beers because they're kind of like in the middle. They're kind of ambers. They're not real dark, but they're not light beers either.
Exactly.
Although I've kind of gotten to where I kind of like light beers myself now too. In the last couple of years, I've really turned around on light beers, pilsners and things. But yeah. So we got our Oktoberfest beers to talk about.
And speaking of Boston, brother, and I hope they're from Boston. I think so. Samuel Adams.
Oh.
Is it or no?
You got the Samuel Adams Oktoberfest?
Yes, I got the Samuel Adams Oktoberfest, brother.
Oh, you're such a basic bitch.
Well, that was one. Okay, so how it happened?
You get a Starbucks while you were out there?
Yeah.
With your fuzzy boots.
First of all,
okay,
first of all, hold on a second. Don't even get me on pumpkin, brother. We're gonna do that next month.
We're not. Oh my god, you're not making me drink.
But I am definitely the white girl when it comes to my coffee and pumpkin. That's for sure, brother. I love it.
Oh god,
that's some great shit. But this one's good. Like this one, I've had this before, and it's not bad. It's not my favorite Oktoberfest, but at the my local grocery store, they have the thing where you can pick them. You can pick like a bunch of different variety, and I did that this year. And I already drank the ones that I kind of already like, but I'll bring it back for this reviews for the show. But I wanted to start off with the Samuel Adams one because you could pretty much find this anywhere in almost any bar, and I think it's a pretty good one. It's not my favorite one, all right, of Oktoberfest, but it's a nice one to have, and that was the only one I had available with me at this time. So let's open this bad boy up.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
All right,
there you go. Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say October. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the Sam Adams Oktoberfest is a really good football beer.
Yeah.
It's a good beer to drink. That's something that's not Bud Light while you're out at the bar, and it's a beer that bars will likely have.
Yes.
If you live wherever you live in the country, you can probably get Sam Adams.
Yeah, on tap.
Not everybody is lucky to live near Beer City like we are, so they don't have all these local options potentially for beers. But yeah, you can always get the Sam Adams, and that's something I always appreciate.
So we will probably rate our favorite Oktoberfest beer throughout the month. Yes, because it's Oktoberfest, but Oktoberfest actually starts in September, so that's why we're doing this.
Exactly. So something not commonly known. People think Oktoberfest is in October, but it actually ends at the beginning of October. Although I think it changes. I think it can be earlier or later, but I think this year it's like September 21st to October the 6th or something like that.
Yes, exactly. And there actually is a spot near us too.
Yeah,
that I like to go for Oktoberfest, and if I get to go out there when they're doing their festivals, I'll tell you all my experience on there. But yeah, this is the first one of the season. Samuel Adams Oktoberfest from your boy James Kline over here. It's not my favorite one, but like I said, for when it comes to accessibility, this is probably the one to try if y'all can try it out.
Yes.
What are you drinking over there, Alison?
So I went a little bit deeper, but I kind of had to pick something the last minute. So I picked a local favorite to us from Highland Brewery. I picked Clawhammer, which is their Oktoberfest beer.
Oh, nice.
It's a Marzen, Highland is great. It's a Marzen, so it's like it's like that dark, not dark, but like that kind of amber color that we like in beers. I'm pretty sure that a Marzen is a very popular style for this, but so I'm having the Clawhammer for Oktoberfest from Highland, and I'm going to open it now if I can get this to work. There we go.
Boom. Open that bad boy.
Yeah, and I'm going to pour it into a glass because I'm bougie like that.
Yeah, you just call me the bougie one. You're over here pouring a beer in a glass. All right. Do you down with your glasses? Do you fucking keep them in the refrigerator? You know what I mean?
No.
Pop it on.
No, I do not like. I don't like chilled glasses at all.
Some good shit.
So, yeah.
All right, so cheers, everybody. That's our first.
Cheers.
It's our first Oktoberfest beers of the season.
Yep.
Cheers, and all
cheers,
up for
Andrus.
Yes, and cheers to Andrus too. Hope we're not fucking up his name.
I know. Well,
because we suck with names. Well, I suck with names. Boy, this film is great and everything, but boy, I'm gonna fuck up everybody's name.
I can't wait.
You know
I love to do Italian movies on the show with you just to hear how you pronounce names.
So, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun month, and so he recommended this movie that we're gonna be doing, the New York Ripper. And he did recommend most of the movies we're doing this month. We're not doing his full list because we did want to keep one of the ones he recommended for a different time. But I think we got a pretty fun month. It's gonna be it's a very New York slasher month, basically, is what we're gonna be doing, or crime slasher. All the shit that happens in New York. And like you said before, Alison, we have touched on New York movies like Wolfen. And one of the ones that you always forget about that's very New York, all right, I'm surprised it's not in the New York Hall of Fame, and that's Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan, brother. What's more New York than that?
Oh, not a whole lot. Actually, probably a lot of things really are, but Maniac Cop, we did that too. That's a New York movie.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there. So
a bunch of them. Yeah, we've done several.
Keeping the list going on. I like it. But let's get into the review parts while we sip our Oktoberfest beer. This one's going to be a fun one because there's just so much to talk about. So this movie came out March 4th, 1982. Okay. Mm-hmm. Usually on these Retro Blood podcasts, we would talk about, wrestling that was happening around 1982, metal that was happening around 1982. But guess what? This is our show. We could do what we want. I'm switching up things a little bit different here because there's two things that I think we should talk about when it comes to this movie. Well, there's one thing I think we should talk about that kind of relates to this movie. And then there's one, unfortunately, we had another wrestler death.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've been doing that a lot on this show lately. Like, we get, because there's just some wrestlers that just been, passing away. Alpha and Sycho. We talked about them on the show. It's just unfortunately, that's been happening. And the wrestler I want to talk about that passed away this last Monday, I believe, due to cancer, which is, very, very sad. Apparently he was battling it. He didn't really, he didn't inform anybody about it. He was kind of battling it with him and his family. Was actually one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And he is not a wrestler that's like, he's not going to go out there and have some sort of like Jack Briscoe classic. You know what I mean? He ain't no mat-to-mat wrestler. But the presence, the size, the promos, just everything about this guy was just like blew my mind all the time. Like, I always like seeing him on camera just so he's just so unique. And that is, of course, one, Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, Sycho Sid, or his government name, Sid Eudy. All right. And this guy is I don't know. I'll see your thoughts here in a second, Alison. But so basically, to me, Sid has always been like the wrestling version of Frankenstein. The dude was tall as shit, jacked out of his mind, traps freaking enormous. All right, he fucking out-towered everybody. He's an insane guy. Okay. He's just screaming the whole time. He would take somebody up for a power bomb their ass to the fucking thing, choke slam their fucking ass to the mat. I mean, just rip to shreds. And it's interesting to think that he, when he was first getting his start too, he was known as Lord Humongous.
He was. We've talked about that before a couple times.
And yes, we have talked about this before. And he was doing that gimmick in Memphis. And obviously that gimmick was the ripoff, okay, from Mad Max.
Right.
Okay.
From the Road Warrior.
The Road Warrior. And so I saw a picture of it. Let me see if I can send you this picture there, Alison. I want you to see it.
Is it the one where he's wearing the hockey mask type thing?
Yeah. God, yeah. I'm going to send it over to you, and I'm going to put it on the Facebook, too.
Okay.
I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Fuck, he looked like the guy from the movie. But even bigger.
Yeah. He's actually larger, yeah. Because I was thinking about that as because I rewatched the Road Warrior a few months ago, and when I saw that, I was like, that guy's nowhere near as big as Sid Vicious.
Yeah, exactly.
But Sid was just huge, though. I mean, he was just a gigantic person.
And I believe that was his first character in wrestling was playing that Lord Humongous. Am I saying that right? Is it Humongous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lord Humongous, yeah.
And obviously that would be his he would come in as that mask character and he would do that big feud with Jerry Lawler.
Yes.
All right. But I always thought the Sid's career was very fascinating. And I think the most fascinating part about his career is he was such a big attraction, but he never got to megastar level, even though I think he could have. And it's not like he was never like not world champion. He was world champion many times in WCW and the WWF. But it's just like, it was just like timing, where like he was a big star, but he was never like the big star. But, you don't really need to be in wrestling to be the big star all the time, to be a memorable character, like Sid was. Because I remember seeing him, and he kind of like started like around like, I believe he started around like 1988 or 1989 when it came to wrestling. Mm-hmm. So like we will talk about him like, on this particular show, like here and there. But most of his career run, his memorable stuff happened like in the 90s. When they were like pushing him to be like with the Four Horsemen, and he was like they were that was like his big push, basically, was being in the Four Horsemen at the time, and he was there to portray like their heavy, like their big muscle guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
go ahead.
And
I was gonna say, he was. I didn't watch him as in the Four Horsemen when it was new. But I've watched some of that since, and I think that what he was doing later on suited him better than being in the Four Horsemen, personally.
Wait, hold on. You said you didn't think he was good in the Four Horsemen?
No, I think he was fine.
Yeah.
I just like to see him. I don't like to see him in a team. I like to see him like as this badass.
Yeah. On
giant
his own. I got
that's
you.
On his own, yeah.
Well, I mean, the team he did with the Dan Spivey, the Skyscrapers, was a pretty good team. Yeah,
that's true. You had two big tall guys.
Yeah.
But even when he came back and he was in Randy Savage's group, Team Madness, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
He just seemed like, like, why is this guy not the leader of this group as opposed to Randy Savage?
I mean, that was a very interesting group. And yes. I wouldn't really, like, I think they were just like, I don't think that was necessarily like a group. That was just like two big stars, like, hanging out with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like it's kind of like when it was like Jericho or Kevin Owens. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't like known as tag team guys, but they were just like kind of in a tag team.
Yeah.
I think it was just like, just one of those things. And, obviously, like, how can you outshine, like, Randy Savage? You know what I mean? It's kind of tough.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
But apparently, though, which I didn't know, speaking of Randy Savage, apparently Sid, he entered wrestling after he had an encounter with Randy Savage and his brother, Lanny Poffo. All right, so I guess Randy Savage and Lanny Poffo met him probably at a local strip club. And they're like, oh, shit, look how jacked this fucking dude is. Hey, you should go train. And he got trained by Toji Yamamoto. And then he made then that's when Sid would make his debut and teamed with Austin Idol and wrestled the team of Nick Bockwinkel and Jerry Longer. All right, and that's when he began his career in the Continental Championship Wrestling. All right, and then of course he would be on the mask of Lord Humongous. And he actually debuted, he actually won the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Championship on Christmas Day of 1987.
Wow, right? Nice.
So, pretty interesting. And then after that, then he would jump to, he would kind of go back and forth. He actually did a little stink in Japan. Like he wrestled Fujinami in Japan. But then this is when he would go on to, do a little stops here and there. He would go on to like World WCCW for a little bit, and then he would obviously make his name in the NWA, which is most like the Crockett. And he would team with the Dan Spivey, and he would create the Skyscrapers. All right, and then he would do he was basically the Four Horsemen's heavy for a while, and then basically in like early 90s, like 91 stuff, like Sid was getting over. You know what I mean? Like, how can you not? This guy's jacked as shit. Fucking had great matches with Sting. He was in the Four Horsemen stable and everything. He kind of broke out on his own. And WCW wanted to make him like the champion, basically. They wanted to make him like the main guy, but Vince McMahon came over with Sid with a higher offer. Like, hey, I'm gonna put you in WrestleMania with Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
All right.
Here's a big check.
So here's a big check. Like, and like you gotta think about it from Sid's perspective. He's like, actually though, I think WCW might have paid him more. But
really,
yes, I think during this time WCW was trying to keep him. So they're trying to. They're actually they don't quote me on this, but I think they were trying to keep him, and they offered him a huge contract, okay, and a world championship run. All right. But then Sid was like, I think Sid just wasn't liking the place. Or he didn't trust WCW. So that's why he wanted to go to the WWF, which is, still, I wouldn't say like WWF was like super duper hot, now that they were in, like in the 80s. But in like the early 90s, it was kind of going down a little bit. And of course, this is when we were kind of like creeping up, like when we get to 91, 92, this is when we're creeping up to that steroid trial. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but that basically, Sid left and he went to the WWF and he became Sid Justice, and they brought him in as like Hulk Hogan's like friend, like his like ally, and then they eventually turned Sid, and one of the greatest Sid moments, which there's a ton, was when he destroyed the barbershop. All right.
Oh yes.
And
yes.
like he's like knocking it with chairs and shit, and then like I don't know if this is by accident or design, but he like knocks some shaving cream or something, and it gets all over his face. So he's screaming with all this shaving cream coming down his face. Hogan, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna mash up your face like I'm doing here. Hogan, like the way Sid was so intense with all this shaving cream and shit all over his face. It's fucking hilarious. But it was weird because he had that big match with Hogan, all right, and then he's even getting over. Like they even had to like edit footage of him. Like remember when he like eliminated Hogan from the Rumble?
Yeah.
They even had like apparently in the crowd that night was all like, yeah, fuck Hogan, and I said you're awesome, you're tossing him over. So when they like redid the video, they had to redo the video and re-edit it out the Hogan booze when they did that. That's how over he was getting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Go ahead.
But according to what I thought was that, because I did some research about Sid because I knew we were going to talk about him. But so my understanding was he left WCW because he got in that altercation with Arn Anderson.
Yes. No, okay. That comes later.
Oh, that's later. He goes back to WCW.
Yes. So so here's what happens. So he's in the WWF around like 91, 92.
Okay.
He does that big match with Hogan. Okay. Yeah. And Hogan at this time, Vince was trying to kind of get him out a little bit. Like not fire him, but kind of get him out because, like I said, this is like basically the steroid trial. It's like it's on the horizon around this time, especially 92. So obviously Hogan is when you think of WWF and steroids, who comes to mind first? It's gonna be Hogan, not because he was like the only one doing it. It's just because he was like the head figure. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Vince had to like keep Hogan a little bit on the DL basically, and he wanted to do a feud with Warrior because Warrior just came back. Okay. So the plan was after they kind of calmed down Hogan a little bit, they're gonna feud Sid and Warrior together. All right. And then I guess Sid wasn't liking this. Like he wasn't liking the direction. All right, because he only wrestled Warrior at 2 house shows, both of which Warrior won by disqualification. The best finish in wrestling, disqualification.
Yes, exactly.
And apparently after wrestling, check this one out for irony. After wrestling Warrior in Boston, Massachusetts, that we just talked about.
Ooh.
On April 26th. Yes. You like that, huh? On April 26th, Sid apparently voluntarily quit the company due to two disagreements with the Warrior and the WWF management, in particular the outcome of the match with the Warrior. So he basically quit the WWF because he didn't like where he was going. Which
I can understand that.
And then that's when they replaced Sid with Papa Shango, and that's when we got that famous Papa Shango and Warrior feud where like Warrior vomited up green shit for some reason because he was cursed with voodoo zombie magic.
I was about to say he was taken over by voodoo zombie magic. Yeah.
So that's when he went back to the WCW around '93, and this is when he had those really good runs with like Vader. All right, they had like he was out. He would do a bunch of matches with Davey Boy Smith, Sting. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like this is when he helped bring the Harlem Heat into WCW. All right, and the most thing I remember about Sid, this is kind of like where I kind of like know Sid the most from, to be honest with you, is the 1993 era, because he actually really had a lot of good matches with especially Sting. He had some really great matches with Sting. He had some great matches with, even though they're in a feud. He just had he was kind of like he was like a heel and a baby face, kind of like. And I think he had some matches with the David Boy Smith, and but this time period, all right, is when they had that altercation with Arn Anderson. Okay. Yeah. So this is around like the '93 period where that was happening, and the gist of that was basically what I believe is Arn was kind of mad at Sid for, not being respectful, especially being in the Four Horsemen stuff. Like not being respectful to wrestling, not being respectful to WCW, not being, not feeling like a commander, he felt like he was not one of the boys. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was on those kind of lines, and he just felt like they were drinking. I don't know if they were drinking Oktoberfest, but they were drinking during this overseas tour. And apparently what happened was they just got an altercation. Like they were just going back and forth with each other. And it was eventually Arn was the one who brought out the scissors. All right. And then they started to, I was gonna say they start scissoring each other, but it's not the it's not the scissoring our girl Jane was doing on this movie. No, and it was not the scissoring that the Acclaim does. It was actually stabbing each other. Okay.
Yeah. From my understanding, he nearly killed Arn.
Yes, because I think they said like Sid. Okay, Arn only got Sid like 3 times, but like Sid got him like 20 times.
Yeah,
some crazy shit. So basically, Bischoff. Or I believe it was Bischoff at this time was managing the company. They kind of took Arn's side and then they fired Sid. Okay. And then this is when Sid, he kind of went back to Memphis for a little bit for around the rest of 94 into like 95. And then this is when Sid went back to the WWF. And this is when he became the bodyguard to Shawn Michaels. Okay.
Yes.
And this is when he's basically the bodyguard for Shawn Michaels all the way up until Michaels eventually won the title. All right, at WrestleMania 12. And this is when we had the Great Six Sid segment where he don't tell me what to do or what to do, and he just power bombs his ass like 5 times in the middle of the ring. All right. And that kind of starts off their feud. And as we go a little bit into like the 97 era with Sid, like he was getting very over. And I would say probably the pinnacle match of Sid's career was probably the 1996 Survivor Series where he beat Shawn Michaels for the WWF title. And the reason that was probably the pinnacle is because Sid was supposed to be like this hated monster heel. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he basically came to New York, and New York does what New York does. Another tie-in to this movie. They do what they want. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't play around, and they cheered Sid the whole time over there. And he was just getting this big reaction, a reaction when he won the belt. And, the story behind that, really quickly over here was, Vader was supposed to be in that spot. But the Shawn Michaels and Vader match at SummerSlam pretty much ruined that because they just weren't getting along. So that's why they decided to do Sid. Sid was only supposed to win the title and then hold it until the Royal Rumble. Shawn was going to win it at the Royal Rumble and then go face on Brett. But then there was a whole lot of malarkey that happened in early 97 with Shawn Michaels hurting his knee. Everybody's getting on to him about his knee. Bret Hart obviously doesn't believe him, thinks he's just being, hard to work with and stuff, or doesn't want to lose the title. And then eventually, McMahon decides to go with Sid versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 13. And that match, it was a good big man attraction match, but it wasn't the match of WrestleMania 13 that everybody remembers. That obviously goes to Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
Of course.
So then after that, apparently Sid just kind of like, just kind of fades away a little bit. And he, then after a while, he's kind of like gone through like the whole like main attitude era, like 98 and a little bit of 99. And then he basically resurfaces in ECW. Do you remember his ECW?
That was the first time I ever saw him.
Yeah.
Because I had like we've said many times, I came back to wrestling in 98, but Sid was out of wrestling at that point. Well, he was in the indies. But I didn't really know about indie wrestling then. To me, at that time, ECW was the indies. So I remember him coming back at, I believe it was Guilty as Charged in January of 99. And power bombing one of the Dudleys, maybe.
Yeah, I know he does, but I think he eventually like beats both of them. Like double choke slams both of them. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember him coming back and like just screaming at the camera and being this gigantic human being
with jeans on.
With jeans on and no shirt. Yeah, and then he would just destroy people, and then my friend who was into wrestling was like, "Oh, that's Sid Vicious," and then he shows up in WCW again right after that. So it wouldn't be very long.
That's where I know Sid from, is his 1999 to 2000 run of WCW, because like I told people on this podcast before, I started watching wrestling as a kid in 1998, and I mainly watched WWF and WCW on here. So I didn't see any of Sid's run, prior to this at that particular time. So I saw him at WCW, and right when I saw this guy, I was like, fuck, this dude's fucking enormous. And he keeps like screaming at me. And the biggest thing I remember about Sid in this era was his, the reenactment of the Goldberg streak Sid was doing.
Yes.
Because he was the Millennium Man.
Yes, the Millennium Man.
All right. He was no longer the master and the ruler of the world. He was the Millennium Man on here, just power bumming people. Like, he wouldn't even get to match. Like, they were trying to like pump out that number so much that they would just give him wins, and like he would just power bomb people, and they would count it as matches and stuff. Some of it's pretty crazy, but one of my all-time favorite Sid moments in this 2000 era, in a feud with Goldberg. And Alison, you had to watch this before.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see? I think it was at the end of one of these Nitros or Thunders. I can't remember what show it was on, but I need to find it. Where Goldberg crushes Sid's car, and the acting by this man is glorious. If I may,
please do.
What? My car? What? Goldberg! Why me? Goldberg! Oh my God, bro. Fuck.
And that's why Sid Vicious was never in the movies.
And then like he would also fuck up promos. Like the one where he was like doing in the early WCW. He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna beat you up, Sting." And he's like, "Oh God, hold on, can I do this again?" Jim Ross like, "You're live, pal. I'm gonna beat up Sting, motherfucker."
You're live, pal.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And then the one he did with Kevin Nash, he's all like, "If I had half the brain that you do, All right, it's like basically calling himself dumb.
Yes. But yeah, he was so good. Like I love seeing Sid just screaming, just freaking being,
out.
Like,
yeah.
To me, he was just like so over the top, and he was just constantly screaming.
Yeah.
He was terrifying, like a scary person. Like I'm like when I first saw him, like I bet that guy's a fucking asshole. But I mean, from what I hear, he was kind of a nice guy, actually.
Yeah, I heard that too. It's a cool guy.
But yeah, he loves softball.
Yes, he's a
that
big
was the
softball
stories
guy.
People always thought about him was that he would always get quote unquote injured around softball season, so he could take time off to play softball.
Yes, and he was. He also had that. Unfortunately, most of his career ended because of that bad leg injury he had.
Yes, which still hurts to me to this day to even think about. I watched that live, and that was
crazy.
At that time it was the most horrendous injury I'd ever seen live on television.
Same here. Which is interesting about that, Dante Martin had a very similar injury to him on that Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Remember when he went to the table?
Yeah.
I think it was on Phoenix or whatever, and his leg all snapped and twisted like that, or his ankle. But the Sid one was so I'm still very weird why he even did that spot. I know it was supposedly he didn't want to do it at all, and it was John Laurinaitis that kind of kept insisting that he do that spot. But I'm like, Sid never did any of that kind of stuff. He never came out.
No, he never did anything off the ropes. Yeah.
It's so stupid. And it was just dumb. He was doing this one leg flop move or whatever, and he just fell right in his fucking ankle and just fucking. It looks like it was about to fall off. It was so nasty.
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially it was. I mean, he broke both bones in his leg, and his leg was bent at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
I don't know how they even fixed it. I don't even know how they saved his leg. I guess it was, he got the best care money could buy, but still, I mean, it was broken completely in two.
Yeah.
And part of it was sticking through the skin. And if I remember correctly, the match didn't end immediately.
No.
It went on for a minute or two
because,
with him laying on the ground and Animal pinned him, I believe.
Yeah, because I think before that even happened, they had to introduce Animal, because Animal was supposed to be some sort of surprise debut in the match.
Oh, right. Yeah.
All right. And I kind of need to watch it again, but that's pretty much what I remember is that spot happened. Nobody knew what the fuck to do. And then Animal had to come out there and reveal himself. It's all this fucking cluster. But eventually he did return back to the ring. But he didn't really do that much. He mostly did Independence, and he made that one Raw appearance one time beating up Heath Slater. But other than that, he didn't really do too much on the big scale of professional wrestling besides doing conventions and shoot interviews and stuff. But very knowledgeable guy. Very great storyteller on some of the shoot interviews that you can find out there with Sid. Just one of the most memorable wrestlers of all time. We had to talk about him on this show because, we talk about 80s wrestling all the time over here, and Sid wasn't some megastar in the 80s, but you could definitely tell right when you saw this guy on camera, this guy was going to be something. And he turned out to be something. He has all these great moments and memories and stuff. He is definitely one of my favorite wrestlers. And anytime we get to watch him over again, it's always a joy to me.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but Sid, very, very memorable character. We will definitely miss him out there. All right, so up next, we're going to do something a little different as well, too, when it comes to the metal music. All right? Just because, I don't know why we wouldn't talk about this band. Me and Alison are going to be seeing them in November. All right? And that is the death metal band Fauci.
Fauci, yeah, hell yeah.
And I did not realize at first, because this is my first time watching this movie, The New York Ripper. Mm-hmm. Even though when I was watching it, the scene where the girl gets killed in the red car on the dock, I seen that before, but I just saw that. I just remember that clip. But this band Fauci is pretty interesting. You know what I mean? They're kind of a newer style death metal band. I think they had their first CD. obviously they could have been playing before this, but they had their first CD, Tropical Sun, released in 2019. And that was kind of like a CD more based off like the Zombie series.
Yeah.
And like what I like about this CD too is they do the Zombie series, but they do the fucking Voodoo Zombie one, like Zombie 4, with all the with all the voodoo shit in there. I was like, yeah, but I like it. All right. And then they have the other one, Exhume Information. I'm not sure which Fulci stuff. I think that's supposed to be like his City of the Gates one.
Yeah, that's the one you don't really like. It's like half death metal and half like electronic.
Yeah, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just thought it was weird.
Oh, right. It is weird, yes.
Yeah, because what they do is they do half. Well, they not so much in their new album, but this album does it's like half all death metal, right? And then it randomly goes to like this like electronic metal or like electronic from like TV Crimes.
Well, that one album does, but Tropical Sun and the new one, Duckface Killings, are not like that. Yeah,
they kind of mix them.
Well, they do kind of mix it, yeah.
Yeah, so the new album they have, the Duckface Killings, is all about this movie.
Yeah, New York Ripper,
and
they use a lot of samples from from Fulci.
Yeah, the best one is like the when I believe the character's name is like Buddy or something. He's all talking about like he got him from the Joy Trail. All right, split her all good, and that's some good butchery. Then he goes right into the death metal song. I was like, fuck yeah. Hell shit. That's some. So, describe the band, basically they kind of like, they're kind of like a Cannibal Corpse style death metal.
Yeah, I would say so. It's kind of like Cannibal Corpse in a way, yeah.
It's similar to Cannibal Corpse. I've been, like the vocals are like a little different than Corpse Grinder, but it's like the songs and the style is very similar.
Well, yeah, I mean, Corpse Grinder is like what would you say? He's on his own level. Like, there's nobody like Corpse Grinder.
Yeah.
He's probably the best death metal singer ever, in my opinion. I mean, that guy's incredible.
Yeah.
Whatever anybody wants to say and fight me on death metal singers, I think he's the best death metal singer ever, of straight singers. But yeah, like some of this new album is kind of weird. I don't know if you've listened to it all. Like one of the songs has a rapper. I really like this album. I've been listening to it a lot lately, especially at the gym. Yeah, they have Lord Goat. Some like sort of rapper deal on there on the song Knife. Lord Goat. Sorry.
And the titles of the song are A Blade in the Dark. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Obviously we saw like something like that on this movie. Fucked with the Broken Bottle. Obviously we saw that in this movie too. Like a lot of their songs are based off the Fulci movies, which is really cool. I like the theme. I like theme stuff. You know what I mean? That's how you get me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, would I like this band if they weren't Fulci themed and had the samples? Probably, but I wouldn't like them as much. But I think that their gimmick is really cool.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes me like them. But Blade in the Dark is also the name of a Lamberto Bava movie that we might do eventually. So these guys are from Italy too. They're Italian.
Yes.
And they're all into Italian horror. So
I'm surprised
it'd be kind of cool when we go see them, talk to them about horror movies.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm gonna be like, how come you guys don't got like no fucking eyeball like eyeballs?
I know that
razor blade eyeball or some shit.
I know that was a missed opportunity. There should have been a song called Razor Blade Eyeball.
Or Eyeball something, because that's every time I watch these Italian movies, there's guaranteed two things that I see. Okay?
Yep.
Eyeball fucking, and there's like these like color schemes. All
yes.
Right? That's the two main things you see. Oh, and they close up to your face a lot. They like the face close ups.
Yeah, like especially during murder scenes. Yeah, when they show a close up of like the victim's face. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, but everybody check them out. I'll try to play some little Fauci stuff on here, but I think they're a really cool band. They are going to be on tour this November, I believe, with Morbid Angel, Suffocation. So obviously, if you're a big death metal fan, you know what I mean. Just don't show up late and watch those two. Obviously, I would definitely try to
show up early.
Show up early, man. Check out this Fauci band because that's one of the reasons I'm going.
Hell yeah, and I think they play first. too.
I don't think they're first because I think it's
okay.
I think they're either number 2 or number 3 because I think it's one of those long tours. Like a lot of bands
the show starts at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we got to get there early.
Yeah. I'm guessing they're probably going to be like the second band or the third band or something like that. So
that's going to be so good.
Yeah.
We've been waiting on that for so long.
Yeah.
Months. Many months we've been waiting. And still waiting.
Yeah.
2 more months.
And we'll talk about that when November comes. We'll let you all know how that show goes. So, but everybody check them out. You know, if you're a metal fan, death metal fan, look them up. You can find them on Apple, all this stuff. Apple, Spotify, whatever you find your music from, you can find them on there. Some good shit. Mm-hmm. Speaking of some good shit,
yes,
let's talk about who booked this shit, brother.
Who booked this shit?
All right, our main man Fauci. All right.
Yep.
He booked this, and this is one of his. I guess this is one of his famous movies that he's done too.
Oh yes, one of the most famous.
So apparently he also helped with the storyboard too. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we also have help from, if I may,
this is gonna be great.
Gene Frenico Claricia.
Sure, that's good enough.
Close enough.
I don't know how to say that guy's name either.
Vincent
Clerici.
Vincent. All of our Italian guys must be like, this fucking Mark, this American. Vincenzo Manito.
That is Vincenzo Manino.
I was close. All right, come on, I was close.
And this next guy, you got to get this right. We've talked about this guy a million times. We're going to talk about a million more times too because he wrote a million movies. Giordano Sacchetti.
Oh yeah, Sacchetti.
Yeah, Sacchetti wrote all the other Fulci movies we talked about. He wrote Zombie 2. Oh. He wrote House by the Cemetery. He wrote Sea of the Living Dead.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll do many, many more movies that he wrote as well.
Yeah, he's a good writer.
Heck yeah, he is.
So, this film was shot in late August and October 1981 in New York, with the interiors being shot in Italy. So, what's cool about that is when we were seeing the billboards for Final Exam and, A Werewolf in London and was it Nightcrawler? That was the real gimmick. That was the real thing.
Oh yeah, this is like an indie film. It's not an indie film, but it was shot like an indie movie. Yeah. They just shot whatever was up. They didn't rent theaters and put up billboards.
Yeah,
that's the movies that were actually playing in theaters, and that's what's so cool about it.
And like we were saying on the show for a long time, is like, bro, like these horror movies, like we're not lying when we're saying they're next to porn. Okay.
No, they were literally next to porn.
They were literally next to
you could see American Werewolf in London and go next door to watch porn.
Exactly. So, especially in New York, brother, you could just pop right in there. All right?
Yeah, because you said it was filmed in New York in August of 1981.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's when American Werewolf came out, was August of 91. So, it came out August 21st. So, that means that in late August, they were in New York City filming that.
Yep. And I guess Final Exam was around that same time too, where it came out, which is cool.
Yeah.
So the script was rewritten by Giordano Sacchetti.
Yeah.
Right, at the last moments before filming had begun. It was released in 1982 in Italy and later in the United States in 1984, while being banned, of course, in the United Kingdom.
Of course.
Like everything is around this time.
Like everything we talk about.
Yes.
Is banned in the UK for 25 years or whatever. Yeah.
So according to Sacchetti, De Angelis claimed the film to be modeled after The Hunger. 1983. We did The Hunger, with David Bowie.
We did The Hunger as well, yeah. Exactly.
David Bowie's goth phase.
Yes.
I mean, I can kind of see it, but like not
really. I mean, I guess sort of.
A little bit.
I mean, sort of.
I mean, some of the shots, yes, but not. This one is kind of like this one's definitely different, which is impossible, as the film came out after Fulci's film was completed. So that's funny,
right?
So maybe it's like vice versa, but I don't know. It's just what he claims. Sacchetti stated that the film had initially involved a murderer suffering from progeria. What the hell's a progeria?
No.
Let's see. It's a specific type of syndrome, also known as Hutchins-Gilford syndrome and Huskins-Gilford syndrome. A single gene mutated is responsible for causing progeria. The effects gene known as... Oh, this gives me a whole fucking thing. So I guess people born with into the mid to late early... But what does it do? Let's see. Oh, okay, I got you. It's the one that's kind of like... It makes your head really big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Weird. All right.
So I guess that was one of the original ideas in that particular film. Let's see. So
Fulci didn't like the original script.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
Or the original idea. Yeah,
right there. So Sacchetti had to redo the script in 5 days, not working on the structure or plot, but on the situations. That is the death scenes and the famous Italian Giglio mechanisms. You know what I mean? Like the eye gouging, all that shit they do.
Yeah.
Sacchetti added that much of the film's sexual content came from Fulci. Oh, so he's the one.
Well, yes. Yeah, so I was going to say that's a known fact, but I don't know if it's actually a known fact. But a lot of people say that about Fulci is that he didn't necessarily hate women, but he liked to see movies where women were sadistically tortured and murdered.
Oh, okay.
And supposedly he added all of that to this, all the sexual components, like the broken bottle to the pussy and all that kind of stuff. Like he added all that to the movie. It was not in the script originally, from what I understand.
So who is he more than Dario, or were they about the same?
As far as Dario, I think Dario is different. Dario understands that women in peril evokes an emotional response from men. So, and I think that that's what he's thinking of when he's writing, like he's man focused. Like I think Dario, when he's writing, he writes from his own perspective, from a man's perspective, and he doesn't necessarily think about a woman's vision when he's writing.
I gotcha.
And I think that if you're talking about like Dario, not giving his wife credit or whatever for writing Inferno and all that kind of stuff, I think that was just like a European masculine machismo kind of thing, where he's just like, I don't know, maybe not sexism, but it's definitely a sexism thing, I think. But I think that Fulci is a little bit different. Like I think Fulci is just a sadist. Like I think he just enjoys seeing women, or seeing scenes of women being sexually tortured,
which is it's his own filming style,
right? And he has his own, he has several movies that are kind of like that. But that's kind of a thing that people said about Fulci. But I don't know if that's actually true, or if they just said that because those scenes are in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But
this would be shocking today. Like you could not make a movie like this today.
Oh yeah.
At all. No, you couldn't. You couldn't. It would be impossible. People would cancel you in a second.
That's true. I don't think
even Nazi or whatever.
That fucking script wouldn't even be at the door with some of this shit. That'd be That would be in the backest of back alleys for this fucking shit.
Yes.
Huh? So Fulci. Yes. So apparently, Fulci, prior to the release of the film, he did describe this film as much less horror than his previous films, because he did all these zombie movies,
which is goddamn shocking if you think about it. Because he literally has a scene where a woman gets her eyeball sliced in two with a straight razor, and then another woman has a broken bottle stuffed into her pussy. But there's less horror in this than in Zombie 2.
Well, Zombie had flesh-eating maggot zombies, brother. Eating people.
You fucking for real? But I think that shows he thinks that's less horrific than a fucking zombie. But okay, fine, whatever. People are different.
Yeah. But he had like this, it was basically like the murder mystery, the killer working in the dark.
Yes.
All we were missing was the black glove.
I know that's an Argento thing.
That's an Argento,
the black gloves. Yeah.
So Fulci did describe this film as a tribute to Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Billing it has a Hitchcock revisit a fantastic film with the plot, violence, and sexuality. So
yeah,
which I could see that. You know, it was very artsy, like a Hitchcock film, and it did have like a a deeper meaning, you know, and it's like tone of the movie. You know, it's like a very showing like the sexual depraved New York City and like the what it's like to have all your sexual fantasies come to life, and like there's like so much stuff that you could say, like if you break down the film when it comes to like the actual like meanings of a lot of stuff, like, you know, miscasting some guy because he's like a sex weirdo who just wants to go out there and have sex and take pictures of his naked man body. You know what I mean? We got a horny wife at home who's like recording sex on a tape for her husband.
Which is,
okay.
We'll get there.
Okay. There's a lot.
But yeah, Hitchcock was also known to be like sadistic toward women, especially actresses in his movies. So, so I think that, I mean, that's kind of Fulci. I think Fulci is more like Hitchcock as a person than Argento is, but Argento makes more Hitchcockian, if you will, type movies.
So, you know, basically the movie was shot in about 8 weeks, like we were saying. Like it was around August, October. Among the cast was Jack Hindley, all right, who was cast after filming had commenced, all right. And Jack, let's see, he was the Fred, the
detective,
the main guy, Fred Williams, okay. So apparently they got him like a little late. So Zora Kirva, who played Eva, all right, in the film, all right. Apparently she was the sex show performer. I guess she was like, I think she was the one that got the bottle on the puss. All right.
Yes.
And she was saying that at first, about her time working with Fulci, it took a while for Fulci to warm up to her. And then when she was asked if you liked this film, she said she didn't like it. I was like, well, what's not there to like? Come on now.
Well, yeah, I mean, for my perspective, like, what is there not to like? I love this movie. But then, you know, I'm a pretty sadistic person too. So
apparently the New York Ripper, when it was released in Italy, it grossed over $1 million, which is nice for its time. Yeah. And it found similar success over around us as well too. So in the United States, the film actually received limited theatrical release in 1984, and then was released on VHS in 1987, where it was slightly edited by V-Mark Entertainment. All right. And of course, now you can find it on, Blu-ray. Apparently there's a 4K scan of it, which is nice. I have it on, there's this Fulci 3-pack DVD collection. I actually got it at a horror movie convention before. And it has City of the Living Dead, which we've done before in the archives.
Which we did, yeah.
And it has House by the Cemetery, which we also done in the archives. Yep. And of course we have this movie. So same month, yes. Okay. So we are Fulci lovers over here, brother, because we've done most of his movies so far. Yeah. Hopefully we could do some more of his stuff. Does he have any more 80s movies that we haven't done yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has several 80s movies. Okay. Now, his career is not just horror movies. So there's a lot of his movies from the 80s we probably won't do unless we want to branch out and do things that aren't horror. Like he did this movie called Warriors of the Year 2072 and a movie called Conquest, which are like both, one's like a Mad Max type movie and the other's like a fantasy movie. But he made this movie called Murder Rock that I would like to do if we ever get a chance to do it. If we can ever find it. I don't know how you can watch it, but he made a movie called Murder Rock that was really good. It's a musical. It's not a musical, but it's music based. He did a movie called The Devil's Honey. And then We did Zombie 3, which he did.
Yes.
But yeah, he's got several movies. Cat in the Brain came out in the 80s. So there's a lot of Fulci movies we can do. To sum that up.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll add him in. But I always like his stuff. I think this. I think the way he shoots everything is very, really fun. Has all these cool colors, very good edits and stuff. You know. He does like the close-up shots very well. So those are really nice. And they do. I actually thought the color scheme in this particular movie was also very fun, especially with the blonde who was done having sex on stage with some dude. When she goes into her room that has a green light on it, and then there's like the red light underneath the door. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they definitely think about their colors for sure.
Yes, definitely. Like, yeah, I feel like they take a little bit, especially around this time in the 80s. I felt like the Italian directors, they put a little bit more thought into the surroundings. You know what I mean? Like your lights, your angles, your moods, your facial expressions. They do a lot of that compared to Americans, where like lighting and facial expression, horror movies for Americans are all about maybe some hot blonde or something screaming. You know what I mean? But it's not like the Italians who will have the hot blonde screaming, but it'll be like cool lighting or be very close up on her face or just a little bit more emotional. So they put a little bit effort into the actual like creation of their movies.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be very artistic and colorful when she gets raped by a broken bottle.
Exactly. All right.
Exactly.
You don't just stab her and leave, brother.
No.
You gotta stab her to a green light and shit.
Yeah, you gotta be romantic. You gotta be romantic about it.
Come on now.
But yeah, like I believe this movie was made like Inferno was made, where the exteriors were shot in New York City, but then anything that's an interior shot, they went back to Rome and shot on a soundstage, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it.
So when they're outside, it actually is New York City, but anything inside is Rome.
Yes. But yeah, I say we get into it though.
Let's do it.
Let's get into the New York Ripper.
Let's do it. Let's rip it up. Haha.
That was a good one. Rip it up, brother. Ripping it.
Let's go.
Speaking. What do you want?
To dedicate a murder to you. Sacrifice a woman.
That beer says she's got on silk.
Nah. She's like her, don't wear nothing, right?
Somebody called for you.
Yeah, who?
The guy with a strange voice. Said he'd call you back. He sounded just like a duck.
Just like a duck.
The guy who attacked her is our friend who calls and talks like a duck. Well, he's made his first big mistake.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got all 5 boroughs alerted, and we'll also inform all the radio stations. Shouldn't be too hard to find a guy missing 2 fingers in his right hand.
Poor dumb cop. You don't think I've been so many hours to let you pinpoint me with your stupid tracing machines, do you?
Hey! Hey! You give me all the data and we'll wait till the next victim.
So you think he'll do it again?
A little hasty, but as butchery goes, perfectly effective.
All right, so we start off. All right, we're in New York, brother. Yeah, this old guy taking his dog out for a nice little stroll near like the bridge and some water out there. He's having to play some fetch. All right, and he eventually throws the I don't think it was a bone, but it was something into the bushes. And the dog comes out, and of course he brings out a dead woman's hand.
Yep.
And I was thinking, you know what? That's pretty common for New York. A dead woman's hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like why would the guy be shocked?
Yeah, I was like, oh, God.
Back a dead hand.
It's like, this mostly happens on Wednesday. It's Tuesday now. What the hell?
It's Tuesday now. Yeah.
So, I'm just messing with y'all, all my New York guys. You know what I mean? Just messing with you. So I did like it though. Like the credits were all like this, like still shot of her dead hand, and then it gave everybody's credits. I did like that.
Yeah.
So this is when we meet Lieutenant Fred Williams. He's our man. He's the lieutenant for this whole story, and he gets a visit by an older nosy neighbor lady. All right, Wissenberger. And she is there to basically identify the body of the dead hand that the old guy found. And her story was that she was a neighbor of hers, and she heard this girl talking to this duck guy, like a duck man's voice kind of guy. Okay?
Yeah.
And I do like this part, though. He did say, okay, is this girl, is her name like Amelette? And she's like, oh, no, that's not her real name. That's her working name.
Yeah.
Meaning she's like a lady of the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or a stripper or something. Yeah. But yeah, so Jack Headley, as you mentioned before, plays Fred Williams. So I wonder who did Jack Headley's voice for this movie when they did the dubbing. Because Jack Headley is a British actor.
Yeah.
So...
Well, you know.
I mean, he could have done his own voice, but if he did, he's like one hell of an actor because he had that American New York City accent down.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's okay. You know, these British actors, bro, they can change their voices pretty good.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Because the guy who plays Rick Grimes, he's super British. He does a pretty good.
That's a good point.
Voice.
Well, kind of.
So yeah, well, close enough. The guy that plays, there's a lot of British actors out there that can do like a pretty good American voice.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I don't know if this was his real voice or he's dubbing. When they're British actors, you can't really tell sometimes unless they like.
Yeah.
Unless, because these Italian movies, half of them are dubbed and half of them do speak English.
Yeah, they film them in whatever language they speak.
Yeah.
And then dub it into whatever language they're releasing it as.
Yeah. So basically, the nosy neighbor, she was saying that she heard her talk to a strange man with a duck kind of accent. And the guy, Fred's like, well, how did you hear her? She's like, well, I was listening in on the conversation. Mm-hmm. So up next, we get some 80s girl on her bicycle strolling through New York City. And I was like, well, this ain't going to go well.
No.
Okay. And you can see that some cars are following her and everything. And we see a bunch of shots of the city. So that's when we're seeing a bunch of shots of New York City around everywhere. And eventually she makes like this sharp turn. So she almost scratches up this guy's red BMW Beetle looking thing.
Volkswagen Beetle?
Yeah. And he's all pissed. All right. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was mistaking these roads for Boston. See, there's a bunch of Boston here.
Yeah.
We got Boston
I
beer.
From Boston.
Sid was in Boston. Everybody's in Boston. All right. And she says he calls her dumb as a chicken. All right. And she tells him basically he'll fuck himself. And then she rides her bike all the way on a boat.
A ferry, yes.
A ferry. And this ferry was transferring the cars to the other side of the ferry? Or the dock? Gotcha.
Yeah, like the Staten Island ferry does that. Like you can get on, you drive your car onto and I think there's one to Long Island maybe. Yeah. But anyway, you drive onto the ferry and then you drive off the other side when you're done.
So her plan was, she was so mad at this dude calling her a chicken. That she goes into the ferry boat, and she's going to vandalize his car from the inside.
What kind of world would you leave your car unlocked in New York City?
Well, it was in a boat.
I mean, it is a ferry. It's on a boat. You're right, but still, I mean, like, what kind of world do you live in where this would happen? But anyway,
well, what kind of world are you exercising, and you're just going to go randomly on a ferry to vandalize his car?
I don't. Did she get on the ferry just to go after his car, or
I don't know? She was on there.
She going? I think she was traveling to wherever they're going to on the ferry, and he just happened.
Well, she knew exactly where the car was.
Well, that's true, but I mean, that's all like because the plot needed it to, kind of things.
Exactly. So the plot needed her to be here, so the duck man killer can show up,
right?
Saying how pretty she is. Yeah, that thing. Yeah, I can't really do that. Crack, crack, crack. Yeah,
it's really strange because like. I really recommend our audience to watch this movie before you listen to us talk about it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because a lot of it's really hard to describe.
Now like it's really hard to describe after spoiling everything.
Well, after spoiling everything, right? But it's really hard to describe what this is like. But yeah, he makes these duck noises while he's talking. He's like, like that kind of.
And I was thinking, like, did Donald Duck even do that kind of noises?
Well, kind of. I mean, Donald Duck kind of sounded like that, but like, how did he get the idea for this? Like, we know by the end of the movie why he sounds like a duck, but like, how did he even get the idea for this? Like, you know, all right, Fulci, this is the plot. You know, he makes duck noises, and Fulci's like, yeah, that sounds great.
Well, maybe he did. Maybe he's like, hey, fine. He's like, listen, bro. All right, after we had this girl get cut and her eyeball on her titty. All right, you better add this. We gotta lighten the mood a little bit, so I want to make this guy a duck. Like I've been watching this Donald Duck for a while. All right. He probably said all that, but he said it in Italian, so it sounded cool.
Right, he said it in Italian, so it sounded cool. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, maybe he watched Donald Duck cartoon and he was like, "That's the scariest thing I've ever seen."
Put it in there. Put it in the script, brother. Put it in
the script.
So she's vandalizing this car, right? And then the guy
she's writing shit on the windshield.
Yeah. Well, she has it. Yeah, with her lipstick.
Yeah. I guess she was gonna write shithead or something.
And eventually, this guy, he's like looking at her. He sees her legs. He's like, "Oh yeah." And then he eventually starts stabbing her. So he stabs her in the stomach. She tries to get out a little bit, but then she basically just gets stabbed everywhere. Stabbed in the stomach, leg, chest, everything. So they're pulling the cars out, and they're like, "Hey, fucking get that red car going!" And then eventually, you can see the red car, and then you can see her blood all around the car, and her in the car still. Or they're like pushing the car along.
They're pushing the car off.
Yeah.
Which I guess, do you leave your car in neutral when you're on the ferry? You don't put it in park or in.
No, it was on neutral, so I guess, like, I don't know.
Right, that wasn't
pushing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like a Volkswagen of that era would be a manual anyway. It would be a straight drive, so it wouldn't be automatic. But I mean, I guess they just left it out of gear.
So anyway, here is probably my favorite line of the movie.
No,
which they did put it in the Fulci band's. It was the Vile Butchery. That was the opening track that they ripped from this movie. So we meet the mortician guys. Is that what? That's mortician. What is the guys that sew people up?
Well, no, a mortician is an undertaker.
Yeah.
This guy is a.
What do you call that thing?
There's a word for it, but I can't think of it. Yeah. He works in forensics. He's the coroner.
The coroner.
He's the coroner.
So we have Barry over here, and we have Fred. Fred's like, "All right, man, give me the details." And he's like, "Well." So first he stabbed her up her joy trail. I was like, "Oh fuck, bro, what? I'm stealing that." All right. He stuck it up her joy trail.
It's like this guy's like he's got like he don't give a shit. Cool at all. He's like, he just stuck it up a joy trail.
Stuck up a joy trail. All right, and he did okay, but if he had more time, he would have done a little better. But I would say it's a efficient butchery. And I was like, What? This is the greatest opening line for a death metal song ever, and they did that.
And they used it, yeah, because that's fucking cool. But I'm wondering, like, the way was this intended for us to think that maybe the coroner was the killer?
No,
just the way he talked about it.
No, I guess it's made us to think that the coroners just have, like, they're used to seeing dead bodies every fucking 5 seconds,
right?
So they don't give a shit. I guess
so, yeah. They don't. Yeah, right. They don't give no fucks about that.
So the Barry guy just say, hey, there might be some good. This doesn't go anywhere though. So Barry said there might be some good lucks though. I might have found some more blood, like different style blood than just hers. But that doesn't really go anywhere in the script.
Not at all.
So now Fred is talking to the big chief, and basically the big chief is like, hey man, like I know all these like murders are happening, but can you just keep the details out of the picture, out of the paper? You know what I mean? Like I don't want you to do that.
Also, that's Fulci, by the way.
Oh, for real? Okay.
Yeah, Fulci played the chief.
Nice. I like it. He's up there saying, like, come on, just keep all this shit out of the paper. And they're going back and forth. And, like, Fred's like, that's just who I am. Like, I like to, put out the details there. It's like, okay, well, can you just be a little more relaxed? All right? Of telling the public what's going on here. We don't need to let them know a maniac's coming around here.
Yeah, we don't need anybody to know about this. This, it might hurt tourism.
Yeah. All right, so now we meet some weird dude. All right, which is he was basically the Will Graham of the story.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Dr. Paul Davis, he is playing chess by himself because he's like one of those guys. Wearing his red sweater. I was like, oh, there's
one of those guys.
Golly, oh boy, here we go. It's one of those guys like, oh, I'm a smart guy because I do all the. Oh boy, here we go. Thank you, Paul. Okay, just play more chess with yourself. So Fred's like, can I speak to this Paul Davis guy? I need to talk to him about his work and stuff. And of course, Paul's like, well, I'm Paul. Ha ha ha. You thought I was gonna be some old guy, but it's some young hippie guy like me.
At this point,
or hipster.
At this point. Some young hipster. Like at this point, I was thinking like Lieutenant Fred just wants to shoot this guy in the fucking face.
Yeah, exactly. You know what we should have had? We should have had that Tom Atkins character from Night of the Creeps show up in this fucking movie
as the detective.
He'd be like, all right, David,
that would have been
all
fucking
thrill
fantastic.
me. Thrill you? Haha, you thought I was going to be some old guy. It's like, oh, this fucking idiot. I got to deal with this guy in the movie.
And then he like blows his brains all over the fucking chair. But yeah, okay.
So Fred basically needs the guy's help because I guess the guy is like Will Graham where he can channel his serial killer knowledge. So basically they're deciding like he decides to help him because he wants the data, but they have to wait for another person to get killed.
Yeah.
All right. And this is when we get all those cool shots of like New York City at nighttime where we see like the, we see the movies we're talking about, American Werewolf in London, Night Creeps and everything. We keep hearing some guy saying, live, free girls here. Beautiful girls, naked titties everywhere. And then we see that we're going to get, we have a live sex on stage show.
Yeah.
All right. And so like, they just go into that shit. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, do you remember in America, didn't they have that scene in American in London or something, the werewolf, where they go to like the peep show or whatever? Yeah. And all we see is like them watching it. All right, this is the total opposite, brother. We actually see the actual sex show there.
Yeah, it's almost like it's kind of artistic in a way, but it's definitely like, a sex show. Like it's like two people having sex in a theater, basically. Well, they're on a stage having sex, and then people are just sitting there watching it and audio recording it, apparently.
Yeah. So this is when we meet two of the characters of a film. Mm-hmm. All right. The first one we meet is, I called him Two Fingers the whole time. Even though he I guess he had like...
He had 8 fingers.
He only had 2 fingers on one hand.
Oh, so he had 7 fingers. And a thumb.
But his name is Mickey Shalidia, known as Mickus. So we'll call him Mickus. Sure. Mickus Two Fingers.
Mickus Two Fingers.
And then...
It's like a gangster.
We had Jane. So Jane, she doesn't only like long walks on the beach. She doesn't only like a nice a pumpkin spice latte with maybe some, like a Danish on the side.
Yeah.
But she also likes sex clubs, and she likes to dress like Dick Tracy and masturbate in them, Alison.
Yes.
I wonder if she put that on her Tinder profile.
Maybe.
I mean, she was married, but like fucking, she's in one of those open things.
Yeah, in one of those open relationships. Like I like long walks on the beach and jazz clubs and dressing like Dick Tracy while I audio tape people having sex in the theater.
Yeah, and she touches her joy trail the whole time. So I was thinking, so her character basically is she's super horny, and she goes out on like her own adventures and records her having sex and other people having sex to give to the husband so he can listen to it.
Yeah. Because I guess that's what some people are into.
Well, I guess that's what our boy's into, her husband.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, whatever. I mean, people are different.
So, so she's going at it like hardcore. All right? Fingers left.
Yeah.
I guess we don't know where the hell he went. All right? But,
yes.
The low key, one of my favorite parts was like at the end, where like the blonde was she left, right, and we see fingers there, but then the girl left, Jane, she left. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is when the girl that was like doing the live sex on stage, she left, and one of the other girls was like, "Oh hey, how was it?" She was like, "It was okay."
It was okay. I was like,
damn. It's like you got Dick Tracy over there, girl, fucking going at it, and you just said that was okay. That was like a thrill ride of her life. All right.
This is just a a regular walk in the park for her.
Yeah, exactly. So she goes to that really cool green looking room. Now it's not a green room, but it's actually a room that has no lights in it, but it's all green everywhere.
Right.
All right. And apparently somebody broke the light bulb. So she stepped on some glass. She blames it on this guy named Joe. I guess Joe's like the manager. All right.
I guess.
And she's looking around, and this is eventually when she gets stabbed by the duck killer, and she gets a bottle to the pussy.
Yep.
Which is cool looking death scene, I would say.
It is, and it's song number 3 on the album, "Fucked with a Broken Bottle."
Yeah, Betty. Fucking good shit. And he kills her and stuff. And my favorite shot of this scene, which I kind of talked about earlier, was she was in there, right? And the whole room is like green looking, but if you look underneath the door, like it's red. Like that one little section's red, while the whole room is green and stuff. I thought that was fantastic. And then when the duck killer leaves the room, he opens the door and you can see that one red light on her with the whole green in the background. Very, very, very elegant scene for some murder, basically.
Yeah, very, very artistic scene for your sadistic murder. But I mean, that's one of the things that is really cool about talking about these movies with you, is that you get that, and like a lot of people don't. Like a lot of people couldn't watch this scene and notice the lights.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. All that they would notice is like the fucked with the broken bottle part. And it couldn't get past that. But yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, like it's shot so well. I mean, it's gorgeous. The way the lights look and the red and the green, it's gorgeous.
Well, it's kind of like that thing we were talking about with the Italian films. Like I said before, they take a lot of pride in like doing different. They really do some Alfred Hitchcock kind of stuff in their films. When it comes to close-ups on the faces, very intense facial shots, scenery, backgrounds, like just like that kind of storyboarding with their stuff. I always think it's very fascinating. Something you don't really see that today.
No.
In movies. So now we are back, and our boy Duck is calling Lieutenant Williams. Okay. And yes, he's calling, and basically he's calling our boy Lieutenant Fred Williams is Lady of the Night.
Mm-hmm.
His, as I quote in the movie, his whore. Okay.
Yeah, like he's got no, he doesn't go easy on it. He's like, yeah, she's my whore.
Yeah, and I believe her name is Kitty because she'll come up later. So so she gives the phone to the Fred. He's like, what the fuck? Somebody's calling me at this number? Because, like, he doesn't, like, go around the police station.
Here?
He doesn't go around the police station and say, hey, guess who I'm fucking tonight, brother? He doesn't do all that.
Like, I'm going to be over at my whore's house.
Yeah, exactly.
My whore's apartment.
He doesn't spread it across.
But yeah, he's like, I mean, he stays really cool about it, but he's like, he's like, how does anybody know I'm here?
Yeah. So
why does she even give him the phone? Like,
well, she don't give a fuck. She's getting paid, brother.
Well, I mean, I don't know. She should be more like discreet than that. You know, she should be like, who? I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah. You
have the wrong number.
Yeah, she don't
I don't know who you're, whatever.
She got that lieutenant, you know what, so she's good. All right, so now the duck man is, basically kind of taunting Fred a little bit, saying, you'll never understand. You can never understand. And then, like, when he hangs up, he's basically like, the Fred was like talking to Tiffany, the kitty girl, was like, hey, maybe you can give me some cup of coffee. She's like, I'm your prostitute. I'm not your fucking girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not making you coffee. You paid to fuck me and that's it.
Yeah. And like, he calls her a bitch. And then he's all like, hey, did you ever tell anybody I come here? She's like, no. And then he's kind of like very confused and kind of worried.
Yeah, because he shouldn't have answered the damn phone.
Yes. So now Jane, this is when we get a scene of Jane. She's putting on her clothes, and now she's talking to her husband. And the husband's saying basically he's going to be busy tonight, so she needs to make plans on her own. And she's like, well, I've already made plans on my own.
I've already made plans, so I'm going to go fuck these people behind your back.
Yes. Wait till we get to that scene. That's some weird shit.
Yes.
And apparently we can see that he has the tapes that she made.
He does.
Okay, people fucking. Like, the kids nowadays, you could be like, well, why didn't you just get out of a cell phone?
Well, it was 1982.
In 1982, bro. You don't got no cell phone.
No, you taped it on audio tape.
Tape it on audio tape, brother. This is how men used to do it. We don't give a shit about looking at the people. We just want to hear it. Come on now.
How men used to do it. Back when men were men and...
Or men were men, yeah.
Horses were horses or whatever.
Yeah. All right. So now we're getting Paul Davis. And he's explaining, okay, based on all these conversations you've had with the killer, I have 3 conclusions. All right? He's good. He's good at changing his voice.
Yes, because he can sound like a duck.
Yes. He's good at and then he has to say he's a man too. Okay. The man is also good, all right, at he likes to be noticed. Okay, he's also good about being noticed and has like a trademark basically. All right. And let's see. And he's good at being very pragmatic. Like, he's being very good at taunting you. He's like very good at... he's like a very smart villain, basically, what they're trying to say.
Yes.
This ain't some normal, killer from Boston, brother. This is some New York villain. Okay?
Yeah, this is like Hannibal Lecter before there was Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, exactly. All right? And I'm Will Graham, by the way. Don't copy that.
Don't copy that.
So now they're basically saying that he's not just some like weirdo guy killing a bunch of strippers. He actually has plan and motives. That's basically what the Paul guy was saying. Okay, so this is a very interesting scene. So Jane hangs out at a bar, right? And like, I'm not really sure why all this is happening, but it's happening. Okay. I'm pretty sure some porno started out this way. Okay, so she's like at like a daytime bar in like the middle of New York, and this is like one of those hole in the wall bars, and she's just like sitting there, and there's like these like 3 like they're Puerto Rican dudes. I have no idea.
I think they're Puerto Rican. They're Latino guys.
Latino dudes, and she's like kind of staring at him, but not really. And then one of them just like lips his lips near her, and she smiles. And then right when she smiles, all the guys come over there. All right? And now the main guy, I believe his name is Miguel. His plan is to use his foot and touch her with his toe. He was going to be rubbing on her joy trail.
Yes.
And they made a bet. The first bet was if she had panties on or not. All right, and they lost that bet, so they had a drink or something. And then the other guy was like, "Here, grab this beer," and the drink. It was such a weird scene because it's like she wasn't liking it, and then she was liking it, and then she wasn't liking it, then she was liking it, and then the whole time this guy's like footsing her, and he's like, "Yeah, you like that, don't you? You like that? Tell me you love it. Tell me you love it." And it's like doing all this stuff, and then eventually she says, "I love it," and then they take the tape away, and she skids on out of there.
Yeah, she like freaks out. So, because that's kind of what she does. Is that? Well, we talked about it before. Like her husband, I guess, stays at home.
Yeah,
and he likes to hear about her like fucking around with other guys.
But did she record that?
These. What?
Did she record that?
I don't know if she recorded. I don't know if she recorded that one. But yeah, she goes to fuck around with these 3 Puerto Rican guys at a bar.
But she didn't.
Well, no, she didn't because she freaked out for some reason. But I mean, obvious reasons, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's freaked out and then she left. But then she goes to find 2 fingers.
Yeah. Yes.
Later on,
for some reason.
Yes. Oh, didn't we? I should let you get to this, but just in case we missed it, there's a part where Faye is introduced.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where she survives the killer. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So Faye is at a train station. This is when we first meet her. Okay. And then we see that the dude with the missing fingers, okay,
yeah,
Mikkels, was weird, and he's acting all weird. And I like my notes here. He was acting weird to cool music.
Yes, because he is obviously the killer.
Yes, because he has missing fingers and he has weird looking face.
Yes, all right. So he must be the killer.
So he's looking at her funny, and she runs off the train. And he's like following her through, and the one thing I noticed is like this is supposed to be New York, and there's nobody around anywhere.
Yes, no one. Well, it could be late at night though.
So what? I'm pretty sure there's like 1,000 homeless people in the 80s.
Well, yes and no. So that's a commonly misthought of thing about New York is that as I've been in New York, I spent a lot of time in New York, and when you're on the subways late at night, a lot of times you and some crazy ass homeless person / serial killer are the only people on the train. So like, it's not like there's always people around, especially late at night. But yeah, so she was just on the subway late at night, and there was nobody around.
So she's running through everywhere, and eventually we hear somebody say brains. I was like, no way. We gone back to Zombieland? But no. So she keeps running, and then eventually she gets attacked by the duck killer. All right? Mm-hmm. And she gets stabbed in the leg, but he misses her because he hits the wall a couple times. And then she gets away from him, and she runs into a red-looking lighted room, and it's a theater. All right? And now she's like sitting at the theater trying to hide, even though there's like some cartoon playing. And then there's some arms that grab her by the legs. I was like, oh boy, is that arm gonna go for the joy trail too? All right, we got all kinds of joy trail grabbing going over here. Okay, and then she gets away with that, and then eventually she sees that this random dude, which we're gonna find out his name is Peter, starts cutting her all up, throat, stomach, / everything, slices her up. And then she wakes up in the hospital because it was all a dream.
Yes. And one thing that I thought was cool about the whole scene where they're in the subway too, not to go back to that, but they're at Hoyt Street Station, which is in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of cool because they filmed that in Hoyt Street. But at the end of the movie, they mentioned Fulton Street, which is like right near there. So they kept it like kind of realistic too. They just didn't make shit up. Like they actually did New York City research. So that was kind of cool. But anyway, so yeah, she wakes up and it was all a dream.
It was all a dream, brother. Oh. However, Jane thought everything was a dream.
She thinks her life is a dream when she can get footed by strange Latino men.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. You gotta have them goals. All right.
Right.
So now the dude that she was dreaming about, Peter, he's walking into the actual hospital, and we can see that Paul and Fred, they're walking away. All right. And she gets very nervous about the door opening. This is when we get a lot of close face shots. So like every time, this is another thing that the Italian directors do as well too, especially Fulci. Anytime there's a noise happening, they do like the quick like little shock. Like, you know, when you hear a noise, they move, and they move the camera too. I like it. It's good stuff.
Right.
So then Peter walks in, and that's why we find out his name is Peter, and apparently Peter and Faye, they're like a thing together. All right.
Yeah.
And this is when also too we have Davis, you know, Paul and Fred. They're talking about the girl in here, and they're like, okay, well, you know, apparently the duck killer has now made a very big mistake, because now we know that he's missing 2 fingers. Okay, so now because of talking to Faye, they think that the duck killer is now the 2-finger guy. Okay, this is also, so now when this is all happening, we have a couple different shots. We do have the 2-finger guy. He's now taking money from, I thought it was a prostitute at first, but apparently it's Jane. All right. So we know that they were in the same like sex room together, and they kind of like glared at each other a little bit, but we didn't really see them like talk or interact anytime soon. So,
but somehow they do know each other. I don't know that it's ever substantiated how they know each other, but somehow they do, because she ends up picking him up and doing the bondage stuff. Yeah.
And this is also too when we get Peter and Faye. They're talking about like Shay was basically saying like, I had this dream that I was in, you know, a theater watching kids movies and stuff, and kind of foreshadowing, you know, what's, you know, she does a little foreshadowing. She says, I was listening to these kids movies. I was, you know, getting attacked in this theater, and then I saw a dream of you, Peter, slicing and killing me. All right. And Peter's like, well, you know, I would never do that and everything, you know. Then they start, you know, they think that was just kind of weird. But then during that phase, like, you could tell that she's like semi-suspecting Peter of something. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're back with 2 Fingers and Jane, and he is trying to reach up to her joy trail. Okay.
He is.
And I was thinking like, man, like, what? This girl, like every day, this girl just needs to go out there and do her thing. So that's what she likes to do. Okay, so, you know, Faye is also telling Peter why she thinks in her dream that he was trying to kill her is because apparently Faye said some bad things about Susan before. And we find out who Susan is, and I was like, well, how can you say anything bad about her? Faye, what the fuck?
Right.
We'll find out about that soon. And she wants Peter to believe her that she is, you know, she's like trusting him and stuff. Peter also said like, hey, you're very lucky because, you know, a lot of people have gotten away from this, the killer. All right. And she explained that you know, it basically was the guy with 2 fingers and stuff. And that's what she told the cops. It was like, you know, that's what I saw. The guy who attacked me. So 2 Fingers is getting up Jane's joy trail.
Yeah.
All right. And then like he stops, and then he like randomly calls somebody on the phone. And I was like, is this like a fetish thing I don't know about?
Yeah. He just randomly makes a phone call.
And like I can't even hear what he's saying. All right, that's all right. And then like this is a random scene too. So then we get like some shots of some gay porn magazines.
Yes.
And then Paul just picks ones up, like, all right. It's like, okay, thanks, Paul. Did I need to know that about you?
Well, it was kind of cool though. I like that scene where he was like, "And a newspaper for you, sir." It's like he puts the gay porn magazine inside a newspaper to make it seem like he's only buying a newspaper. That was really cool.
Man, I couldn't tell if it was like maybe his, if he's gay or maybe he's doing some research. You can't really tell. I thought Paul, like for the longest time, was going to be the killer, but we had to do swerves. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we cut back to Jane. She's still tied up now, but she has like cuts on her. I was like, what the hell are y'all doing in here? All right. Then we have this random DJ out of like nowhere saying, all right, y'all, I hope y'all having a good time out there. By the way, that two-finger guy, yeah, we know who you are, man.
Killer.
This two-finger guy, I know you out there, man. Stop doing all that stuff. All right. And then and then she looks over like, oh shit, this guy has two fingers.
He must be the killer.
He must be the fucking killer. Let me get out of here. So
what a
go ahead.
Weird ass plot point.
I know. The DJ is the one that
how do these random DJs know about this? But
well, Fred, maybe okay. It's very obvious, Alison.
Oh, of course it is.
Fred could not say things in the newspaper,
but he could on the radio.
Detective Chief Fauci didn't say anything about the radio, brother.
That's true. He didn't.
So we're gonna call up some of those, urban radio stations and tell them that there's a crazy sex maniac killer out there who has two fingers.
Who's missing two? Who has two fingers?
Who's missing two fingers? Yeah. And then of course,
Jane, shit! This guy has two fingers.
Jane's like, oh damn it! I should have fucking got those footsies back.
I was better off with the guys sticking their toes up my pussy.
So she's all freaking out. She's trying to get out of there now. And, he moves around a little bit, the two fingers. And she, apparently in this hotel, it's hard as shit to get out of there.
Like,
she's like trapped in this hotel.
And you can't just get the steps or the elevator and get the fuck out of there. It's like a maze.
Like, it's like a maze in this shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? So she's worried she might wake him up. And then she just like turns and then she sees herself or whatever. And she's like, oh, dead end. And there's a dead end at a hotel. Like, apparently this hotel didn't believe about fire exits.
No. Well,
it is
older, but yes. Yeah, fuck that.
So she's
You're
about
going to die in the fire.
She's about to leave, and then the duck killer comes and he stabs her in the fucking belly. And he stabs her a bunch of times, so there goes horny Jane. She's out of here.
Yep.
God, what a great character she was.
Yeah. Long live horny Jane.
She just wanted some sex, bro. There's nothing wrong.
She did, and her husband apparently wasn't giving it to her.
She was out
with
all
kinds of crazy ass people.
Speaking of her husband, that's the next scene. Fred goes there like, how well did you really know your wife? The guy's like, oh, crap.
Not as well as everybody else in town.
So, no shit. Like, this Fred guy is like low key. Like he was low key not playing around.
Yeah.
Because the husband's like, oh man, my wife, like, this is what the husband's like. Yeah, my wife, we had a special bond, and I don't know if that void could ever be replayed. Like, I don't know if I can ever feel that void and everything. And next thing I know,
I don't know if
Fred over here with the tape. Oh yeah, watch your wife having sex on this tape. I got you. They're listening to it.
That's the special bond he's talking about. Like, he'll never find anybody else that'll go out and
he's playing
have
the tape
sex with a bunch of Puerto Ricans in New York City and tape it.
And he's playing the tape for her. And he's looking at him like, yeah, right, motherfucker, I got you.
I got you.
And he's all like, and the guy's like saying like, yeah, like he was trying to, like, the husband was trying to be like nice, and he was trying to, in a nice way, say, this is my fetish. Basically, that's what he was saying. He was all like,
right.
She just kind of died, man. Like,
that's kind of what we're into.
Let's just say, like, we had a very understanding and open relationship, if you know what I mean. And then Fred's like, what the fuck? What the? Damn it. All right, I'm out of here. But his smile when he put on the tape is like, yeah, that's right. All right.
Yeah, it was. This is a scene where I could see where Tom Atkins would be really.
Oh,
good.
He would have been great in this fucking.
Oh
role.
yeah, where he's like, thrill me. Well, actually, on second thought, don't.
Yeah, he'd have been all one-liners on that shit. Okay, so now they narrowed down the killer, and that's when they realized now the killer, Two Fingers, his real name is Mickey's.
Mickey's, yeah,
All right,
Scalinda.
Mickey's
Scalinda.
Yeah, Mickey Scalinda. All right, and apparently they go to Mickey's halfway house or something, and they're like ripping up all this like. I couldn't tell if it was just gay porn on the wall, or if it was him taking pictures of himself, because he looked kind of a big dude. Was it him as a bodybuilder, or was it just gay porn on the wall?
I don't know. I didn't really pay that close attention to it. It could have been just gay porn that he, cut out of magazines. Or
and
whatever.
then he had there was drugs. I think it was him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the actor is actually like a big time like Italian actor.
Yeah.
Howard Ross. That's the guy who played Two Fingers. And it looks like most of the movies he does is like those romance novel dudes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong about that, but some of it looked like that. I'm not too familiar with his career, you know what I mean? But yeah, he looked like a pretty big dude. So I'm guessing that might have been his pictures on the wall, because they also brought out some drugs there too, and I couldn't tell if that was like heroin or if it was steroids. All right, but then they had a crack pipe there, and the girl was like, "Well, what did I do wrong?" I was like, "What?" Yes, this crack pipe and everything here. You did nothing wrong. She's like, he barely.
Yes, this is one of the things. Yeah.
Basically, she might have been the landowner or something, maybe too. But basically, he's missing now. Two Fingers is, and she's basically saying like, I don't know what all these women see, all these whores see in him. He's just a piece of shit guy. So basically, what Miles he's basically kind of like a sex worker. All right. Basically, I guess.
What, Mickis?
Yeah.
Well, kinda. Like he well, don't they say he's like he sexually assaulted some people?
Oh yeah, okay.
And he's like an immigrant.
Yeah.
But that's what we know about him. And then all these women liked him for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was very charming. Well, yes, Two Fingers, right?
It can go a long way.
I see what you did there.
There you go. So now we have Peter. All right, he's now taken Faye home from the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Said she's really happy about spending some time with him. All right, and she's pretty excited about being at his house, and she just wants to spend more time with him. And she's kind of worried because her leg got cut. She might not be able to do some of the running, I guess she was doing. And basically Peter goes on to this speech saying, well, like if you're not the best at everything in this country, you will be nothing. I was like, okay, that's a weird all right, motivational talk we didn't see coming from you, Peter. What are you the best at, Peter? Oh, we'll find out.
Exactly. We'll find it out.
So now Peter, Peter, okay.
Yeah.
Is there, and they're both meeting Paul. Okay. So Paul is talking, and he is trying to get some more information from Faye about the Two Finger guy. He wants some more information on Mickey's. And he's basically Paul is thinking that the girl's story has too many gaps. Like she's like missing something. And basically what it is Faye is not saying that the part of the other person who's trying to stab her, the person who actually stabbed her wasn't the Two Finger guy, because she knows she got away from that guy. It was somebody else who stabbed her. Mm-hmm. So now she's thinking on her dream that it's like Peter, because probably we'll get to it, probably what happened. But she's basically, in her brain, she thinks it's Peter, basically. Faye does.
Right.
So when Peter says he has to go on some errands, she goes looking through the house, and this is when she finds the doll room. Okay, and then we find out that the doll room is going to be related to Susan. Mm-hmm. All right, which we'll see up here pretty soon. And of course, Paul is telling Fred about, the girls' stories have gaps and everything. And Paul is also saying, like, it's kind of weird about this. I was doing some research on this Mickey guy, and apparently he only lives for sex.
Yes. Don't we all?
And then this is also Paul saying, like, hey, like the phone calls that we did study shows that this killer is actually a little smarter than our boy Fingers over here, because he could be dumb. Okay.
Yeah, they think that Mikus is not smart enough to be the serial killer.
Yes, exactly. And this is when we have Fingers. He now breaks in to where Faye is. Okay. And she hears the sound, and we could see she goes down there to check the sound. This is when Fingers starts trying to get Faye. This is when Peter shows up, and then Two Fingers knocks Peter pretty much out. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have the lights going out. The lights are already going out and everything. And before this, I forgot to mention that Faye, she did find some papers in just a random drawer that said about the Memorial Hospital. Okay. And this is when the lights all goes out, and this is when Fingers comes in. He fakes out because Faye hides under the bed. Say that 10 times fast. Okay.
It's hard to say.
So she hides under the bed, and then this is when Fingers grabs her out, and this is the whole melee happen. That's when Peter comes home. He knocks her out, and this is when Fingers escapes. And this is when we have Fred back, and he's talking to Faye and Peter, saying, like, hey, you must be one of the luckiest girls around here because you escaped the killer twice. Okay?
Weird, right?
Yeah. And Peter is super upset because Peter said, I would have got home sooner if you all didn't stop me earlier. This is what we didn't see this on camera. But I guess this cop stopped him, and Fred was like, well, that was just a regular routine we had to do. All right. So we see more of the outside, and this is when we see more of the sceneries, and this is when we see the final exam theater sign, which I thought was cool. So now Fred is asking the police, saying, like, it's like, you think he's going to call? It's like, yeah, he was definitely going to call and stuff, and, So basically the duck killer calls Fred, because, the duck killer likes to call Fred to tease him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they got that from the Zodiac. I believe, right? Who's the one that called the police?
Yeah, that was Zodiac.
Okay.
So yeah, they could have got that from Zodiac.
So the duck calls and saying, basically the duck guy is saying, I'm gonna do another victim, but I'm gonna do it in honor of you, Fred. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this is when they're tracing his call. They're tracing the duck killer's call, which they've only come. Go ahead.
See, I thought this scene was hilarious.
Yeah, it was fun.
Where he was like, they were clearly talking about them tracing the call, but the killer was, well, we find out why the killer stayed on the line, but the killer's on the line, and then he's like, when they find out where the killer is, he's like, "Go, you bastard!"
Yeah,
like, come on.
Yeah, it was great. And I did like this though, like. Fred's like, hey, I'm eventually gonna get you. He's like, oh yeah, you might. Eventually, we'll be face to face if you'll recognize me.
Ooh.
So has Fred already met this killer? Who knows? And then, he's trying to lure him. They finally trace the call, okay? And they get all the way to a payphone on a dock. All right? They open the door, and basically he called on a payphone, but he's using a walkie.
Yeah.
All right? And I thought this was some killer. This is like some sort of crime killer stuff right here. He said, like, yes, your plan of tracing me didn't work. And guess what? I'm at your whore's house. I'm at Kitty's house. All right, so now we can see that the duck killer, which they've kind of already named him the New York Ripper. All right, but I like duck killer.
The radio DJs call him the New York Ripper.
Yes. So we had the Ripper on there, the Duck Ripper, and he is basically going to be torturing Kitty. All right.
Yeah. So he's using, to make it clear, what he's made the phone call.
Yeah.
I don't know how this worked. This doesn't make any sense. But he made the phone call and left the handset of the payphone.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you had payphones, kids. Payphone handset, and then he's speaking through a walkie-talkie, and then it's coming out the speaker of the walkie-talkie into the phone.
Yeah. You don't do that?
But somehow, the walkie-talkie is picking up what's coming on the phone. Also, walkie-talkies don't work unless you hold the key the mic down. So the way a walkie-talkie works is like when you key the mic, you talk into it.
Yeah.
But until you unkey the mic, you can't hear what the other person's saying. So there's no way that you would be able to communicate on a walkie-talkie. Like whoever wrote this has never used a walkie-talkie.
Well, maybe you had one of those special 80s ones.
It's okay. Fine. It's a special 80s walkie-talkie that is two-way. Like a phone.
Have you ever used an Italian walkie-talkie before, Alison?
Okay, you have me there.
There you go.
I've never used an Italian walkie-talkie.
Yeah, what those can do is you pick up the best radio signal, and there's not going to be, that little glitch you have when you do radio stuff? They don't have that.
Yeah, they don't have that. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. All right, fair enough.
So now the Duck Killer Ripper guy, he is now torturing Kitty. All right, she's all
tied to the bed, naked.
He basically is. Remember what he said? He's like, "Hey, this next victim is gonna be in your name, Fred." And he already knew that Fred was fucking this prostitute named Kitty.
Right,
and
he called
obviously,
Kitty's house.
yeah, and obviously the killer doesn't like ladies of the night, so that's why he's going after her.
Right.
So now Fred is like, "Oh fuck," he's like, obviously he's upset. And this is when he starts touching her with the razor and stuff. And then he starts to cut her a little bit. And then this is when basically Fred just gets on there and he rushes out there and he gets into his car. And,
this was great.
Yeah, he's like trying to race there the whole time to, see if he can help her. But then we see him cutting. The killer starts cutting her. And eventually, I thought this part was even like almost more fucked up than the eye.
But before we get there, though, I want to comment on this funny part. So Fred's caught in traffic.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to get to Fulton Street. So he goes up on the sidewalk, and he goes about 10 feet, and it stops the car and gets out and runs across the street and goes into her apartment. Why does he not just get out of the car where he's at? Like, why is he worried about... Was he going to drive just a little bit further so he can find a closer parking space while his girlfriend is getting killed?
Well, he doesn't want to interrupt traffic.
I guess not.
All right, come on now. You gotta have traffic flowing. Come on now.
Right. Anyway, so he's
so
this was way more graphic. You're right. This is way more graphic than the
listen, man,
fucked with a bottle.
He razor blade her titty, and that was fucking nasty.
In half.
Ugh,
yeah.
Golly. And then we do an Italian special where he razor blades her eye, which was fucking nasty looking, but it was cool looking at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
And like the way she's like constantly screaming while he's like cutting her, like, yeah, it was. This movie is not for everybody. I can tell you that. It is definitely not for everybody.
It's a very interesting breed of movie. This one is.
Yes.
So Fred breaks in, sees his dead prostitute girl now. All right. And Davis is back. All right. So this is the part where I thought Davis was like the killer, because it's like he's playing chess. He's obviously
a weirdo.
He's like playing chess. He says, checkmate, just like the patterns of the cops. I was like, oh, does that mean you're the fucking guy now? I was like, okay. So now we see a shot, and we could see that we see a dead Two Fingers. He's dead now. All right. Mickey's dead. All right. And then we're back with Buddy again. All right. He's sewing him up, smiling, of course, because he loves this. And apparently the cause of death for Mickey was suffocation. All right. But the Buddy says, well, because Fred asks, like, well, how long does he think he's been dead for? He's like, well, he's been dead for 8 days. And Fred's like, no, that's impossible because Kitty got killed 4 days ago. All right. He's like, can
and
you be
he's so
wrong?
convinced that this guy's the killer.
Yeah, he's like super convinced that he was the killer the whole time.
Mm.
All right. It's like, no, man, you know me for a long time. And I say it's been more. He's been dead for 8 days. He's been dead for 8 days. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. That's what basically
I know
Buddy's
what I'm talking
saying.
about.
Yeah. So now Paul and William are meeting again. All right. And then they're basically kind of going over some of the facts, you know, about the case, and basically Paul is basically saying, I think Mickey Fingers, I think he killed himself because he knew that all these dead girls, even all going to be pushed on him, and there's no way to clear his name, so we think he just killed himself. So now we have Faye, okay, and she's Faye is going into the hospital, that memorial hospital, and she walks in there and she hears all this duck sounds, and we see a girl, which we're gonna name, her name is Susan, and she is basically in intensive care because she doesn't have any arms or legs.
Right.
All right. And she loves to hear duck stories. That's where we get our whole duck angle from. So she's crying a little bit.
Yeah.
We see Peter looking evil for a second. I guess he's waiting on the Faye. Davis is saying, like, hey, maybe we should, like, you know, check on the Faye girl. You know, she might have more clues. Because remember, her story didn't really add up. And Fred's like, what kind of cop do you think I have? I had her followed.
I've had her followed since last week or something like that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Fucking followed. So now they were going to go to where she was at, which was that hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we see them. William and Paul, now they're meeting Susan. All right. And I was a little confused about the story. But apparently they were saying that Susan... I don't remember how she lost her legs and stuff. But they were saying that she got checked in here by her parents from Brazil or something, and they just left. They don't visit her anymore.
No, at least one of them doesn't. Doesn't they say one of them pays the bills but never visits or something like that?
Yes, one of them pays the bill and never visits and stuff.
Yeah, and she has like a disease that's going to kill her.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and then there was they amputated her arms and legs.
Yeah. So now, you know, they're hearing about this story, and then now, basically, Paul and Fred, you know, they're basically saying, okay, well, now we found the motive, basically. You know, we found the ducks, we found the motive, you know, and so now they're kind of basically going to be looking for Peter, all right?
Well, I think at this point, they think both of them are the killers, right? They think Peter and Faye are the killers?
Yes, that's right. They think Faye lures the women in, and then Peter kills them. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, like, Faye's in the house, right? But, like, Peter doesn't know. So Peter gets a call, and the call is the duck voice. All right? And Faye listens to it. So now she has pretty much confirmed that Peter is now the duck killer because of that. And apparently, let me know if I'm wrong here, the duck killer voice is basically the voice that Peter and his daughter, Susan, talk to each other in.
I think so, yes. Because remember the nurse is reading her stories about the ducks?
Yes.
But yeah, I think that I think it's like a little voice that they talk to each other.
Yeah. So now, you know, Peter knows that she's in there now because he heard the phone, you know, and he's like, oh shit. He's like, Faye, get the hell out of Susan's room and everything. He's coming up there. So now they're going, so now they're kind of fighting each other a little bit. Faye and Peter are. And eventually Peter gets the upper hand on Faye. And he's doing his duck voice right now, like, you know, calling her all kinds of crazy names. He's about to stab her. And then Fred comes in and shoots that motherfucker in the face.
Right in the fucking face, yeah.
God, he got him good. Right, bam, right there. And then we have Susan, I guess right when that happened, she woke up. and she wanted to call her dad. And now she's trying to get a hold of her dad, and she's basically in a very dubbed voice, saying, "Daddy, please, where are you, Daddy? I need you, Daddy. Please call me," and stuff. So very sad when it comes to that. And she's crying, and then we can see the whole time that the ambulance is bringing the Peter to basically the grave because he's dead. And that ends it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they're taking Faye to the hospital.
And Faye to the hospital too, yeah.
Although she actually could have been in on it, I suppose.
I don't think so.
They never really tell us that. I don't think so either. But
I don't think she was into it because, she was trying to investigate him.
Well, that's true. You're right. She was.
So
because she was almost killed by the killer. So yeah, you're right. I guess it wasn't.
Yeah, and part of her—I didn't bring this up, but part of her investigation, she did go back to the scene where she got stabbed, and she was trying to put some two and two together.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. Where she sees where the knife hit the wall.
Yeah, the wall.
The stone. Yeah.
So, but yeah, the New York Ripper, brother. Pretty crazy movie.
So,
man. Pretty wild
so you've never seen this before, right?
No, it's my first time.
Yeah, so I saw this. I did not. This is not a movie I saw as a child, which would probably have fucked me up even more than I'm fucked up now. But I saw this as an adult when Anchor Bay released it in the 90s or the early 2000s, one of the two. I guess it would be the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, this was when first time I saw this, it was shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I know you knew about the duck voice thing, and I kind of wish you didn't know that before you saw it. But I mean, what were your thoughts about this? Did you like it or?
Yeah, I liked it.
What do you think?
It did remind me a lot of those, those Italian murder mystery films.
Yeah, the Giallos.
The Giallos and stuff. But that's basically what it was.
Mm-hmm.
The raunchy New York sex thing was pretty wild in it.
Yes.
I thought the colors were good. I thought the plot was pretty good. It was a very, very fun movie. I liked it. I like those crime mystery kind of movies. The gore in it was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was great. The special effects were good.
Yeah, with the one little switchblade and razors and shit. That shit freaks me out. But yeah, it was good. I mean, it was very, very, this Fulci guy, he knows what he's doing. So it was good stuff. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a pretty well produced movie. But it was pretty crazy too. The ending was actually pretty shocking, where you kind of felt bad it's just a lot of emotional stuff. It's kind of weird. You felt bad
the little
for the
girl
girl
part. Yeah, the little girl part. But it's weird though that when Peter turned out to be the killer, he's the one person that you would think would not be the killer.
Yeah.
But
we've seen a lot of those movies now, so I have my suspicions about him. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know he had a daughter that was in that intensive care, and he's basically killing these women because of his daughter could never be a woman, and he was taking it out on other women because he basically went insane. Oh.
Exactly.
But everybody, thanks for joining us here on the Retro Blood as we start off New York Slasher Month. Or what are we trying to call this month? New York.
I call it. I had a name for this. Oh yes, I call it Bright Lights, Big City, Red Blood.
Ooh, there we go. I like it. Bright Lights, Big City, Red Blood.
Yes.
And like I said, we're doing the fan request. All right.
From Andrus.
From Andrus over here. Now,
talk on, Andrus.
Now we're not doing his whole list that he wanted us to do.
Because he wanted us to do Chud, which we're going to do, but that's going to be in a different month. We have a different month planned for that.
Yes.
So we are going to do it. We are going to do Chud, Andrus, just not in this month.
Yeah.
And he wanted us to do another movie that
Basket
we're not
Case.
doing, but Basket Case. We're also going to do that, but we have that planned for a different month too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we are doing the one that he did recommend, and we're going to be doing that one next week, and that's going to be Maniac.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty wild. And we're also going to be doing this month, what was it, Manhattan Baby?
Manhattan Baby.
Yes.
And are we announcing all of
them? We could say the last one for the end, because we're still kind of undecided on that one.
Yeah.
We have a couple one that's sort of tossed up in the air, so we'll figure that one out. We'll probably announce that one next episode when we do Maniac.
Yeah.
That should be
Maniac
cool.
next week.
I don't know if I've ever seen it. Doesn't that one have Who's the guy who plays the Maniac? He's like semi-famous actor.
Joe. I wish you hadn't asked me that. If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you.
Because he was in Walking Dead for a little bit, wasn't he?
Was he really?
I think so. I could be wrong.
Joe Spinell is who I'm thinking of. He plays the killer. He was in The Godfather. He was in Taxi Driver. He was in Sorcerer.
Whole lot of shit, huh?
He was in Cruising from 1980.
Cruising? Yeah, buddy.
He was in Cruising, yeah.
Let's see.
I don't know that he was in Walking Dead. Joe Spinell, let's see, TV. Maybe he was. He was in Walking Dead.
Okay. I was thinking about something else. Maybe that's a remake or something.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, there was a remake of this, but I've never seen it.
But we'll talk
actually,
about
Joe Spinell died in 1989.
Oh, yeah, there's no way there. Oh, shit, okay. Yeah, there ain't no way you can be doing that. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking about something. But yeah.
Born in 1936.
Come join us next week for Maniac. I heard this movie's crazy.
Maniac.
I don't know if I've ever seen this movie, to be honest with you.
Oh, you would remember it if you had.
So I heard it's pretty crazy. So we're definitely doing a wild month for this month, that's for sure. So, but everybody,
it's gonna be a crazy month.
Check us out on the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, we got all that shit, brother. I got
Instagram.
the X. I'm on there on X, brother. The Instagram. Check out the Instagram. We always post. We post some good shit on the Instagram. YouTube.
Are you on Threads?
Yes and no. I don't really do a whole lot on Threads, but we are on Threads. Yes.
Yeah, I don't do the Threads.
But YouTube is giving us a lot of love. I appreciate everybody listening to us on the YouTube on there. Do a comment on there. See if you like the show. If you don't like the show, just let us know. I could take it, brother. You know what I mean? Be like, you know what, Greg? You didn't describe the Joy Trail as much as you should.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, you know what? You're correct.
You mispronounce every name. Even after your co-host tells you how to pronounce it, you still pronounce it wrong.
Well, that's a given. Most
in
of
the
the
very
time.
next sentence.
It's true. Because I'm like, what does he say? Fuck him.
It's my favorite part of the show, just seeing how you pronounce Italian names. I love it.
I figure it out here and there. But everybody, join us next year for Maniac. We will see you here next week on the Retro Blood. Jay Alison, James Kline. We'll see you all later.
See you guys.